Okay. So we've got our charts made, all right, via the aggregated version or the non-aggregated version. So let's go ahead and add some labels to these. So perhaps it's easiest to start with the aggregated version. So if we wanted to add numbers for the numbers of responses for each segment for all these responses. So we can add geom text. Okay, and then it's gonna need an aesthetic. It needs the aesthetic of label, and the value we want to give it is n. So let's just take a look at that. Okay, so there are all the numbers in there. It's not looking quite the way we want them to do, because those numbers are at the height of their values, but we want them to be stacked on top of each other. So we do this position stack. Yep. And there's a vjust argument as well of 1. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so that at the moment, they're stacked and they're exactly at the heights of the stacked values. So we need to change that to 0.5. So that way they're in the middle, which looks just a tiny bit nicer. Okay. And given all this, we could probably change certain things about it as well. We might, color, I think, equals white. I wonder if that's going to work. Oh, it did. Okay. So there we go. So we can have things like that as well. All right. So that is great. How would we do the same thing with the non-aggregated data? So it's a bit more tricky. So geom text. The stat that we want to use is going to be count this time. And then inside the AES, we want label equals ... count ... So let's just take a look to see if this works. Okay, so that has worked, and we're going to utilize the same little addition as well to put them in the correct position. How about that? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we had to use stat equals count and AES label equals count. So it's just a bit tricky, but something to know. Okay. So the next question is, how do we go about forgetting about the individuals? We want the totals for these bars. So we're going to use geom text again. I'm just going to comment out the old one. But most of the content remains the same, except we just need this, don't we? But if we put that in, it's going to give us what we just did. All right, so we need another argument, and that argument is to tell the data not to be grouped by the selection ranks. So if we run that, let's see what we get. Okay, so fantastic. So that's the totals that we wanted. There's another argument. So in this case here, we want to, it looks like it's an X we want to nudge, but that's because we flipped it. So we nudge it Y. Yeah, so they're the totals of the bars. All right, that's good. And how do we do this back in the aggregated version? So let's copy this. Okay, so once again, we're going to need the same group equals 1 thing. The label isn't going to be n. It's actually going to be, I'm just going to comment out that, something called after stat. And it's of the y value. So let's see. Oh no, that's not going to be happy like that. Looks like it needs another bracket. So let's just see if this actually is going to work. Okay, so it hasn't worked. And that's because we need to add another stat equals summary. And the function of that summary equals sum. And then to make it look nice, we'll also add that plus at the end. Okay, so we needed to tell it it was a summary and the function was sum. Now we can also just, we don't have to have that sum in quotes for some reason. Yep, and then we need the same thing as well, the nudging of the value, just so that it's a tiny bit not exactly on the line. We could nudge it by a negative number if we want it to be slightly inside as well. So let's try that. Yeah, that's also possible. There's quite a few arguments for positioning labels, and yeah. So there we go. That's how we do all the different types of text labels. You can change it from geom text to geom label, and it just gets a nice little white background. Okay, so that's just a slight adjustment. Yeah. Notice as well that we've got these little A's here. So if we didn't want those to appear inside the legend, it's an argument here. Show legend is false. So that's just going to take it out of the legend. Okay. Yeah, that's making label totals. This after stat thing, these dot counts, yeah, it's not very intuitive, and to be honest, I don't understand it 100% myself, but these aggregated versus non-aggregated scenarios should allow you to cover most instances going forward when you're going to need labels, at least for the start, and then any more complicated things you'll be able to Google. Okay, so yeah, that's adding labels.